With the tables? Please go ahead. If you do from the student section, come on over and we'll get you a microphone.
Thank you very much. Heng Wei Guan from Ithaca College. I'm only, I guess, a few people, less people in my field, sport and health. Many people from business. Feel fortunate to be part of it. I want to thank 100 Strong Foundation and the 100 Stride and Wisdom Talk presentation. Thank you very much. I have personal experience like reflect President Lee's. I have two boys. I'm trying to persuade them to go study abroad in China next semester when I'm taking my sabbatical. So I have personally taken over 100 students myself in the field of sport, including working for the Beijing Olympic Games. But I feel today I want to make my contribution of the sense of in addition to raise the minimum wage, maybe hire some Chinese background professors. And I found when I was studying at Indiana University, I have been coordinating this kind of exchange. Whenever I left, there's kind of discontinuation. And I then started at Ithaca College. I have been taking students to China. And when you lose somebody committed to the relationship and then it discontinues. Many universities sign agreement of partnership with Chinese universities, and once the key person left, kind of get cold. And I have one request. I feel this audio and video and this talk, I hope this foundation can maybe make some video, DVD, so just promoting this opportunity and the support. And the students I have taken to China, many times they feel kind of very expensive, especially from private college universities. If the foundation or organizations can support more in the scholarship, fellowship, or study abroad just for China, between US and China exchange programs, then it helps us to reach the point like we have one world, one dream. That's when I studied, when I took 22 students work for the Beijing Olympic Games. Thank you very much.
Right,
and thank you.
Good morning. I'm Guillermina Jauregui. I'm the proud principal of International Studies Learning Center. And we had the great honor to have Vice President Biden and current President Xi at our school. And we are funded by the Wangjiang Company, so thank you very much. I want to speak on behalf of 20 of my students who were just hosted in Hangzhou this summer. And they're all Hispanic students. Anywhere from 9th through 12th grade were there this summer. And I have to tell you, you were talking about minority students, what an impact. And the younger we get them, the more the impact. So I would like to invite all of you to think about the high school students, because I see a lot of students going there as college students, but to see our students and the impact that it happened, I mean, some of my students had never even left LA. So the trip itself, the flight, was a wonderful experience. But actually living there and coming back and want to become Mandarin students or professors or want to go back to the university in Beijing, it's wonderful to hear their stories. So I would like to invite you to think of the younger students to actually be part of the 100K. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. And there's also somebody over there. No,
Oh.
okay.
Oh, it's my turn. Oh.
Please, yes. No, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Wei Wu. Addressing one of the maybe professor from your school, Dean asked the question about how can help Chinese international students in America. Actually, my doctorate degree research is on Chinese undergraduate students adjustment in America. I interviewed students from China come here for undergraduate study and noted these students paid of tuition to state university is very important. I'm from Kansas State University. So I counted the research, and the students really say on all the levels of their adjustment from going to the grocery store, learning to drive, how to interact with American professors, because the relationship between people in America is very different from people in China. Chinese are very relational. Students can establish a relationship with the professors. In America, the relationship is very professional. Usually, you're not necessarily are friends with people you work, but in China, people are friends with people you work. So all parts of your life is open, so people are well connected in depth. In America, so Chinese students feel the relationship is not in depth enough, including friendship with American students. So there's all levels of Chinese cultures differences in terms of doing business in China. When you go to China do business, most people want to become friends first, so you establish trust. And in America, you can do business with people, not necessarily become friends with them. You can have all kinds of different agreements on social issues, but you can still do business. But in China, you would have to establish all sort of friendship, in-depth knowing someone. So all those things is across disciplines. I think take a collaboration of all professors in the university to look at the issue from a holistic approach instead of a segregation in the disciplines. And also, I think the president raised the question how to, we have to be out of the box we're in right now to approach this issue. And also, I would think for anybody who involved in US and China, this great effort, people themselves also become bicultural, if not bilingual people. They would first, the professors have to experience crossing culture. So maybe go to China, experience the difficulties themselves, so they can put themselves in the students' shoes to understand what they would have to overcome. When someone did not cross another culture, experience that, it's only a mental, intellectual understanding. It's not the experiential, and that make the difference. And I hope 100 Strong Foundation maybe first can do a professional development, take the faculty or staff who are working on this project, go experience Chinese culture first. So when you speak, maybe it will be more personal experience. This is when you shop, you have to figure out the money because you don't know 1 yuan what it look like, or from 5 yuan. So I think it will be, in this whole effort, I feel students also want to see my professor can really feel how I feel or experience what I experience, because that's more powerful rather than just say, you go. But we all should go. I think it's a journey all of us together experience, not just for the students. And I really think, and thank you for this 100 Strong. And as the other professor mentioned, I hope bring a DVD maybe to the Midwest area, because Midwest now feel like being left out because everything going on is New York, DC, Los Angeles. I'm from the heartland of America, Kansas City, where there people are also very interested in China. Actually, there are other companies invested in the Midwest area, and equitable approach, I think also including the Midwest or rural kids, because they also have great dreams.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. We have time for 2 more brief questions, comments, and I know we have one here, and then we have the woman who's standing there who's been waiting patient, if we can get the mic over to her as well. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Samai Taylor. Both of us are honors. Am I not going this close?
Please, yep.
Hello, my name is Samai Taylor. I'm an honor student at Cheney University, the HBCU.
Hello, I'm Trevani Kenley from Cheney University and HBCU. I am an ecology major. I'm a junior. And this question is directed to Dr. Mathis. I have been self-teaching myself Mandarin for a little bit now because my school does not offer it. And I have tried going around and having programs trying to promote like study abroad and learning different language, maybe any different language around our school, which is actually very small. It's about 1,200 students. And I'm wondering if you have any advice to get the motivation up of just our students, because it doesn't seem like it's there no matter how hard I try.
Okay. Thank you. Let me get the other question on the table as well, so and then we'll give you
Okay,
the
but
last
it's,
word.
in a way, it's related. I'm Peggy Blumenthal from the Institute of International Education, and we're working very hard also to get more students abroad, and particularly to China. So for you, I wanted to mention the Gilman Scholarships, which are scholarships specifically for Pell Grant students to be able to study abroad. But my question to our two presidents is, how do we overcome, what I see are two of the major obstacles to the discourage students from studying abroad? And one, I'm sorry to say, sometimes is faculty members who want the student, who think, for example, in the fields of science and engineering, why should their student go abroad when we have such good programs in science and engineering here? And to the president of a company, sometimes employers at the top say, we definitely want students who have international experience, but the recruiters who come on campus are not really interested in that, and they don't necessarily give priority to such students who studied abroad.
Nate, do you want to start?
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know if I can help on the first question, but the second one, obviously, it is true, frankly speaking, there's a lot of industries sort of lag from the globalization. And so, we do see some good recruiting firms are very international, but a lot of them, frankly speaking, are very local. And we have the same issue, frankly speaking. So if we want, like for example in Europe, if we want to use a recruiter to hire a good international background people, usually it's not on their radar screen at the day one. So it takes a little bit to, again, this is, I won't say it's necessarily their issue, it's more at the end, it's still the company's issue. You just need to clearly lay out why this is important. And I think given the time, this eventually will be there. And I even started saying, for example, for us to hire people in China, you would say, hey, it's easy enough. Your headquarters in China, you should just go to your HR. Surprisingly, we didn't go to our headquarters HR. We went to the recruiter company. And they did a good job for us to find a good talent in China. But obviously, our requirement is that you got to be able to communicate in English. That's the first, condition. At the end, I think as long as the company push for that, and we do see it's more and more become as a standard. So I think the time will tell.
One comment, a part of our program is to do a aggressive faculty exchange between the two countries, and I think that's important. I think that's the point that you were making. It's nothing like adding the diversity at the faculty level as well as at the student level, and we do have a number of faculty who would like to go, and I say this to my colleagues in the historically black college community. We want to have a greater exchange because that's important. I think we've got 2 or 3 families, right? 2 families living on campus, and the like. We want to increase that from China, and we did have a professor who taught, I think I said, this summer, all summer in China. That's extremely important. And I didn't get fully the question from the young lady.
Sorry. Where I was wondering, like, you said you had your Mandarin class, I think, started 2 years ago, I believe. I've been trying or asking around to get a Mandarin class started at Cheney University, and there's no motivation from any of the students. Like, I might start a petition to take to our president or to take to the provost, and there's no act towards it. Even though I've tried, like I've gone around and done sessions on the Gilman, the Fulbright, the Boren, everything, and there's no motivation, like any push of the students to go for international education at all.
It's like anything else. We're going to have to really make a affirmative action wherever you are, wherever that same condition exists, to bring somebody from where you're talking there and let them become the ambassadors to say the views that you have or the views that you don't have, you are missing the boat. You just have to start somewhere, and there are students who, a large number, who say, well, I'm not interested in that, until they find out later that their good friend did or somebody else did, and they come back and they tell the good news. But you've got to start somewhere. For us, it's been fortunate because we had been having or had had students doing research around the world, Afghanistan, Brazil, and the like, but it was a minute number, but they came back. So when the China opportunity presented itself, it just spread. So we have to start with students, because students are the best ambassadors for anything. If you want to recruit students at your institution, don't send a faculty member, send a student who has been there and to come talk about the university.
Well, I really admire your persistence, and I'd like to give you our graduate study brochure after this session. Yes, person in charge is right over there. She'll give you her card. I've been given word that we have a little bit more time for this session, which is great, because I know there was a hand right. Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, I just want to have one quick comment regarding the faculty, subject. In fact, I think the faculty is also could be part of the 100K Strong program. Last year, we worked together with a committee of 100, organized, I think, 20-some high school science teacher, and took them to China, and gave them the tour of Wanshang's clean energy, so they can see all the activity there. So I think, just as a general concept, the faculty going to China, at least from what we have done, is also part of the program. And we will be very happy to discuss any other opportunity. Obviously, this is very true, just like the recruiter, if they're not international, then they cannot recruit international candidate. And same thing with the faculty. If the faculty doesn't understand, I always say, although when we were in a school at that time, it may happen, but if you want to teach somebody to drive, you better be a driver first. So just want to give that quick comment. It is part of the program from our point of view as well.
Great. And so, yes, well, you had a hand right here. There was one. Yes, please, young lady. Please stand. We'll get you a mic. Oh, and then we'll come back to you. Okay. And we'll do the same thing. We'll put both questions on the table.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah,
there we go. Wow, sorry. Hi. Okay, so my name is Sierra Basso, and today I'm here as a student ambassador. And I had the opportunity to go to China 2 summers ago through the China Institute. So when I went there, I got a better understanding of how Chinese life is and everything, the culture, food. I know you mentioned that before, and I know that Mr. Mr. Francis. Sorry, you were saying that we need to have a better understanding of them, and we can't just think of the differences. We have to think of the similarities in a sense. So other than going to China, because although we're trying to get more people to go there, inevitably there'll still be some people that do not go there and do not have the opportunity to go to China. How else can we have a better understanding? Because I would like to go back to China, but whether that happens or not, or when it happens, you can only get so much understanding. And so it's something that you can always improve, perfection. My history teacher said that perfection is overrated, and I've been trying to live by that. So I think that you can always improve your understanding of other people. So how else, other than going to China, can you improve this?
That's great. And let's get the other question as well.
I'm Chris Shruggy from Iowa. And our second largest contingent of incoming students is from China after Saudi Arabia. And one of the biggest challenges I have is getting the Chinese students to not just stick together and to get involved in organizations with students from Iowa so that they can learn from each other. And we did just have a thing last week where we had a focus on China, where we had Chinese food and one of the girls danced and stuff. But it's just been a super big challenge for them to not just be part of the Chinese International Club and get involved in the accounting club and the economics. How do we get them to think differently when they come here, that they don't have to just concentrate on grades, which I know it's very competitive there. I've been there many times. How do we get them past that mindset? That the experience is broader than just seeing who can get the best grades. That's my big question.
I think it's in the same conjunction with this young lady. There has to be more activities on the campus that are, quote, mutually rewarding, and that may take a little creativity. But yes, grades are important and the like, but if you're really going to get to learn the, quote, what's going on the campus and the like, you've got to get involved. And you really have to invite people, maybe some key people who will be the ambassadors to get more Chinese students to come to an event and the like. As an athletic event, you know, where all the cheering and all the carrying on goes on, that's nice. But I think it's a matter of actively working on it. I see the executive of our Confucius Institute, and Hu Zhang is a PhD, and he's all over the place. Everybody knows him, and he is involving faculty more and more, and the activities. As I said, in our community, the community of New Orleans, Chinese community, is coming to the events that we are having, and it's using both music, lectures, and the like. Once you get the experience, as long as you keep away from it, you never get, quote, feel that you're involved. And you have to be a little bit more creative. And I think for the young lady, just going to China isn't enough. When you come back, you've got to have activities that you see that you like. And the human side of this is there are a lot of things that don't have to have a, quote, either Chinese or American, but it's an activity that's a great activity. And that you are invited to be a part of that. I think it's asking and saying, we want you, and you know, it takes just a few people to start a revolution, and just a few students from China who have friends and say, let's get together. And people see that and say, it's not a bad idea. But I don't think any of us should get pessimistic about the fact that it can't happen. It will happen. And I think it has to be shown from all parts of the university. You're welcome, we want you, and come, let's have a good time while we study.
Well, hopefully we can get you set up with an internship before the day's over. But I'd also say, you know, one of the things we're always trying to do here within the school is really think about just the wide variety of activities and the different types of events that we can put on, because it's not just about putting on events about U.S.-China relations, you know, or a particular policy issue, but also, you know, we try to use this space. As you can see, we have this gorgeous space. We, you know, try to have art exhibits here. We try to do dance programs. We've had poetry readings, and really to try to really expand the different types of activities so that the students, as well as the faculty, are really exposed to a full range of issues and aspects of the culture with respect to China or other parts of the world as well. So, you know, appreciate the question. Yes, the question back there. And then we'll go. Yes, and then over here. Good. We'll do the same thing. We'll put both of them on the table.
Thanks. Jack Creedon from School Year Abroad. We've actually had a school in China for 20 years for high school students. And although the last two questions were directed about Chinese students coming to the States, what we've learned from the research we've done on high school students, we've been in Beijing now for 20 years, is that the ability to move from that cognitive understanding to that empathetic understanding is really driven by, as President Francis just said, getting people out into the community, into homestay situations. All our kids live in homestays for 9 months, but also finding a common challenge, common problem, whether it's immigration, human geography, pollution, world health issues, and that sort of our American students, having learned Mandarin, work on those issues, research those issues, and then they go across the street to the local high school, and they trade and exchange their research, their analysis, and their studies with other Chinese high school students. And it helps us, we think, all of us think, move beyond what we call academic tourism, food, flags, and fun. And there's nothing wrong with starting at that point. We all start at some point. But it's important to, at least with teenagers, high school students, they want to meet and they want to learn from other high school students. They look at me and they think, what am I going to learn from you? You're just filled with administrative blah, blah. And when they talk to another Chinese student about immigration issues, when they talk to another Chinese student about diversity issues, or religious issues, or political issues, or economic issues, rooted in an academic discipline, that's where they begin, and that's where they begin to move from that cognitive understanding rather to the empathetic understanding, which I think this organization is all about. So that's at least a model for what going the other way for a high school program that we've been running for 20 years that has 1,000 alums, and I think we've had some success.
That's great. Thank you.
Good morning, President Nee and Dr. Francis. Thank you so much for your remarks. My name's Nancy Yao Mosbach. I had the real pleasure of serving at the Yale-China Association, a 113-year-old nonprofit bridging the U.S.-China relationship. My question is a practical one. We are working in New Haven as our signature partnership program to many low-income, underserved children where a trip to New York, 75 miles away, is not always possible. We are also working in Louisville, where we really see low demand for Chinese. In Jefferson County Public Schools, a county of 100,000 students, we see about 20 students who are actually studying Chinese language. In fact, Japanese language is much more possible because of the possible return on investment, ROI, of studying Japanese, as many of the Japanese auto manufacturers are based in the area. I'm wondering, how would you try to convince young people who are living in a situation where they do not have the means, the resources, to pay for a $2,000 ticket to China, and to really make that investment because the ROI is so small in an economy that's so very tight and difficult? I'm wondering, how do you justify that? I'm somewhat reminded of Nicholas Kristof's op-ed years ago, which actually encouraged us to study Spanish. And I'm wondering, in this globally fluent workforce, how do we encourage that the ROI in this investment is worthwhile? And I use it really to seek your advice, because that is something we are personally struggling with.
Is the New Haven Public School, Yale University program still in existence?
I represent Yale-China Association, which is independent of the university but closely affiliated.
Well, I served on the advisory committee of that about 10 years ago, and that was very effective because the public schools worked with Yale professors for different subjects. But that's another. You talk about resources. Here's the one way that we try to do it is get business interests in the community who see what you're doing and how important the effort is, and to quote, invest some resources. It's not a lot of money, but the return on the investment is tremendous. But you've got to make that case because otherwise, it's an old story. If you don't tell your own story, somebody else is going to tell it, and they're not going to tell it the right way. There's an African proverb that goes, until the lions tell their story about hunting, the story on hunting will always favor the hunter. Till the lions tell their own story, and you're the lions, and you've got to tell your own story because nobody else is going to tell it. Well, if they hold an advisory committee and I'm still on it, I'd be happy to do that. I do spend a lot of time because I think it's important for universities. Universities seen as being, here. I spend a lot of time with nonprofit organizations. Fortunately, I've got a secretary who's been with me 40 years, so I've had 2 wives. I'm told at home what I'm supposed to do. When I come to the office, I'm told what I'm supposed to do or not do. It's like you can't take that engagement. And I take those engagements for the very reason that if I can help articulate it, and if they think I have any influence, for whatever it's worth, I'm happy to do that. And I think the other side of that is to find someone in the community who knows your story and let them visit, because they'd come to talk to the president of the bank, and they they are your ambassador. They are your connection. And he may have never heard. He said, well, I never heard that story, right? But you got to do some research on him. You got to know where he came from, what he's done, and what his company does, and then you show him why it's a good investment, and he's going to get an ROI. Very few people give money out of the goodness of their heart. This business is really a return on my investment. What I think you're doing, and if I invest, the word gift should be thrown away. It is really, I'm here because I have something that is mutually beneficial to your business and our business, and it's a great return on your investment. You've got them all connected.
Well, you know, investing in our future, investing in the next generation, investing in their future work in China and with China is what we're all here about today. So I want to thank both Norman Francis and Pinni for an outstanding conversation, and thank you all for joining in. Really appreciate it.